It's always been a healthy product. Simple ingredients, clean ingredients.
Preservatives, sticking with what works. You could do different things, but it would drastically change the quality of the product. You're always battling for shelf space when you're selling, to retail stores. And we like our packaging because you could actually see the product, what you're buying. A lot of snack foods, you don't see what you're getting. And we think that our product speaks for itself. Different people mention, how they like. Thought, well, we could do that, and gave it a whirl, and it really took off. And number one is the handmade process. So, but we're not going to a machine made product. And the second thing is
Welcome back to Flavor Report, part of dailyovation.com. I'm Joe Winger. Today we have an extra special conversation from Uncle Jerry's Pretzels, Jerry Skolnick, and his daughter, Misty Skolnick. Jerry and Misty, thank you for joining us today.
Hi.
thanks for having
Thanks for
us.
having us.
Of course. Well, we've had the pleasure, Misty and I, we've had, I think, two conversations in the past. And so Jerry's name comes up over and over again. We finally said, gosh, let's actually get to know Jerry a little bit. So, Jerry, I'm so glad to have some time with you today. Take us back, way back to when you first started. What did that first day of delivering pretzels actually look like and feel like? Did you have any idea 35 plus years later this would still be going on?
No, I hope to make it a success because uh, I know I had such a great product. The first day of deliveries came after many days of sales work. So I had established a customer base to deliver to. And then it was just building up relationships with the different store owners and managers. And uh, without the parking authority, it was a great day.
Fair enough. And you mentioned relationships. We're definitely going to dive into that throughout the conversation. But what was the first reaction like from the customer? I have to assume because it's your company, your brand, it was so important when that first person bought the pretzel and then actually tried it. Do you remember what that feeling was like for you?
Well, I remember uh, one store in particular that took the product on. It was like a high-end gourmet store in Center City, Philadelphia, and I pitched it to them. By the time I got home, they had accepted it, and so I knew I was on the right track. And I really don't remember individual customers buying the product. It was more the store owners accepting it.
The logo is hand drawn, and we're going to look at it now, but by a family member, and all these years you've never changed it. What does it mean to have something so personal all this time with the company that you're building, with the face of the brand today?
Well, it wasn't a family member that created it. It was a family friend, and then it was tweaked by other uh, friends. And packaging's so important today, and it just had a real pop to it. And it wasn't something I conceived, it was something the artist conceived. I'm not that vain, but it worked from the start, and it was catchy, and the artwork was great.
Just out of curiosity, because in your own words, how would you describe that logo, the branding? What does it mean to you when you see it?
It means something I've worked hard to make a success, and proud that my daughter saw it the same way.
Oh, that's beautiful. So now Misty and I have discussed several times the process, and the reason I like it is what I've learned through the conversations with Misty is there's so many I'm going to call pretzels that are almost like candy because they're so unhealthy. Whereas Uncle Jerry's is kind of the exact opposite of that because of its simplicity, but also because it's so well made. Can you talk us through the exact process, the actual production from beginning to end about what it takes to make your pretzels and what a day is like at Uncle Jerry's? Is it technically a bakery or what word would you use?
Yes, it's a pretzel bakery. That's the only product that's produced there. It starts with the sourdough mix. You mix that the previous day so it can set. Then you take the flour, water, and put them in the mixer with the starter, which is the sourdough. And then it's all a handmade process. The mixing's not a handmade process. Then it's taken out, brought over to the rolling table, divided into pieces, and everything then is hand rolled and hand twisted. From there, they're put on the boards and taken over. They're put on racks so they can rise naturally. Then, when the rack is full, the timing's right. You take it over to the stone-hearth oven. You put them on these peels or boards. It would be there that you would put the salt on if you have salt. Put them into the stone-hearth oven. Depending then, uh, if you're making the original, which is the specials or the dark, the time it would take to rotate through the oven. Then it goes up a belt into the dryer, which is an important process because that takes all the moisture out of the product and gives it the shelf life. Then it comes out of the dryer onto the packing table, and everything is weighed and hand packed and then sealed.
And off to the races we go.
And if there is such a thing as a common day or an average day, on an average day, how many pretzels come out of the bakery?
Uh, Say a 500,000.
No kidding. That's a lot of pretzels.
It's a lot of pretzels, but when you break it down into cases, and there's 10 pretzels in this 8-ounce bag and or 7-ounce bag, and how many cases. So it's, sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot. The bigger companies throw away more than we make.
Right. Well, in previous conversations, we've discussed the logistics of it all. And just thinking about that many pretzels, all the packaging, all the bags. I mean, that doesn't even that doesn't even include the shipping, et cetera. And so just when you think about the daily work that goes into this, it's a lot. And so and I'm sure there's equipment, all kinds of things, but without getting in the weeds, it's a lot of work. And to know you produce that much quality material on a daily basis, there's a lot going on there. Speaking of quality material, I am one of my favorites is your extra dark. I know a lot of people out there like your extra dark. Was that a happy accident, or how did you decide to go so bold with that?
As I was delivering to the different stores and talking to different customers, different people mention, how they like, well done toast or burnt toast and the more I heard it, the more I thought, well, we could do that, and gave it a whirl, and it really took off. And both originally everything was salted, but the low salt has really taken a different level of popularity over the years.
Well, I was going to ask you, when did you know it would become so popular? But really, I think based on your answer there, what it might be is you listen to your customers.
Yes. And it was the sales, and I never knew it was going to be that kind of success.
So now a minute ago, you talked about the process, and I'm assuming over the years, there's been a lot of ways or a lot of opportunities to cut corners. Is there something about the process that you absolutely refuse to cut corners? Has there been an opportunity where you could have saved time or money and you just said no for whatever reasons?
Well, number one is the handmade process. The labor force we all know what we face with the labor force, as far as wages and whatnot, getting workers. And but we're not going to a machine made product. And the second thing is the ingredients. We're not going to add oils or shortening or
Sugar.
sugar, or we're sticking with what works. And if corn syrup, you could do different things, but it would drastically change the quality of the product.
So years later, Misty comes along. In 2008, when you joined, what did your dad, maybe you couldn't see it from the inside, but is there anything that you convinced him as a new idea to approach for the company?
The biggest thing was going digital and getting online.
Okay.
When I first started in 2008, my dad hadn't a website. He wasn't accepting orders via email at that point. So it was really just bringing the business up to speed on that. That was really the biggest part.
It was huge. It took us into the 21st century.
In 2008, but that's okay.
So previously, the only way to buy your pretzels was at a store, or did you have shipping at that time and it just became more technological?
No, my dad had little printed out sheets that he
Uh-huh.
would mail to people, and they would check boxes and send checks, and he'd get them, unfold it, deposit the check, and take it up. Yeah.
And it
To
was minuscule to what Misty created.
That's amazing. But just to be clear, in 2005, 6, 7, they were writing an order on a paper with a check, mailing it to you, and you'd mail back the pretzels.
Yes, always went with UPS. And
and there are still some customers today that do that.
At that, because I know with Misty's work, you've gone much wider with shipping. At that point, let's say back in 2005, it wasn't national yet, or when did it become national?
I think there was some national shipping,
Okay.
definitely not the scale that it
no,
is now.
So I'm going to assume, and I could be wrong, Misty very much grew up in the business itself. It's a family business. Jerry, was there a time when you just realized, wow, she gets it. She understands the business. This is good. This is, she's inside and she gets it.
well, I'd say from day one, Misty, as far as the mail order end of it, she just grew with it.
Yeah, I think um, when I first started working with my dad in 2008, I was working in a men's homeless shelter
Oh my
and I
God.
was doing a lot of community development work. So at that time, I was doing that work as well as the pretzel business. And at some point, the pretzel business just grew so big that I needed to step back. And I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years later that I realized I could do just the one job in order to focus on it and grow it. So yeah, I left the community work, which I still try to stay involved in and join the business full time.
Amazing. And just for you, because you I mean, obviously you grew up in the business, but has there been, it's life changing, but has there been a moment for you where you just look around and say, look what you built?
Not what I about, I think about what my dad has built. I think to have a business that has withstood so many trends, particularly in the food industry, is
Mhm.
phenomenal. And to have done it, to use a common term, just bootstrapping, right? We've never sought massive injections of funds. That's very unusual these days. We don't have lots of smoke and whistles. I don't really think about maybe what I've done. I always think about what my dad has done, and just on the strength, which we've talked about a lot, on the strength of his integrity and the product has created this enduring business.
And I just think that with Misty's energy and wherewithal, it made it easy.
Oh. Well, I'm happy to hear that. At the same time, from my perspective, the father-daughter dynamic, co-owners, there could be opportunities for some disagreements. Over the years, have there been any small or big disagreements as far as how the company should be run?
I would say there haven't been fundamental disagreements about the values of the company and keeping the product consistent. I think one of the biggest tensions we have faced is when I was trying to go digital and moving from doing everything by hand to going electronic.
Hmm.
Um, because of some of our partners that we worked with, it was just managing the fit. From my perspective, I learned that having really solid partnerships is worth the compromise. And so, in some ways, where I was willing to kind of maybe move on from certain things, my dad taught me like you can't, like this is critical. This partnership will sustain you, and so I just managed to get around it. And style,
I'm glad the way it worked out.
yeah. We have different styles. We're of a different era, age, but
Just holding on the idea of partners for a moment. I know you're incredibly popular chocolate pretzels. Previously, we spoke about the chocolate partner that you have to do that. So, Jerry, if you don't mind diving into the business entrepreneur side for a moment, I don't want to, it's easy to say integrity and good partners and these kinds of things, but as a business owner, there's trial and error, there's, expenses. Like if you make the wrong mistake, it can be a very expensive mistake. So, can you
Absolutely.
talk to us about just how do you find good partners and maybe a lesson? I'm not sure that you've lost money from a bad partnership, but maybe you have a lesson from there. But equally, I'm assuming because when we talked about the chocolate pretzel, we talked about the quality of the chocolate. What's it like going out trying to find a partner that has the level of excellence that you're looking for?
Well, that's a good question. With the chocolate, we originally started with a fairly large concern in Reading, Lancaster area. It's snack food country, and there's a lot of different relationships. They went out of business, and then I scrambled a little bit to find the same uh, quality chocolate. Came up with another fella. He went out of business, scrambled again, and then I found a local company in Lancaster, and that was close to where we lived. And at first, we were just coating the whole pretzels, but with his expertise and another family business, we expanded into different varieties of chocolate. And that's really been exciting because with the pretzels, we're experimenting with different varieties, but we haven't come up with what we think is a real, additives. We're trying to stay away from, peanut butter, cheese, all the standard. But with the chocolate, this fella really had the quality product and uh,
innovation.
innovation.
Mm.
Yeah.
From innovation, from a process point of view, or in what way innovation?
Go ahead.
I think he's creative in his approach to what can we do with this pretzel. I think he views us as true partners, not necessarily um, if we win, he loses. If we both win in these situations, and I think he's really willing to communicate and share ideas, and I think that's been a really integral part of growing the chocolate pretzel line.
And from what I understand, it's become very, very popular, chocolate pretzels. And B, what I was really touched by, and this goes back to the quality of your process, you care so much you won't ship them year round because it's only for when the pretzel can arrive at its best quality. Now, my guess is at one point you had the idea and said, hey, why not chocolate? So at the moment you decided to go chocolate, what was your knowledge of chocolate? And then what kind of education did you go through to decide? Because I'm assuming, and please walk us through this,
Yeah,
there is a huge spectrum of chocolate quality out there.
absolutely.
So tell us a bit about that spectrum. If there's any trial and error of you having to discover that spectrum, and then how you find a quality chocolate.
Well, most chocolate companies in Lancaster use Wilbur's chocolate. That they're like the giant. They send the uh, chocolate to different bakeries. Now they have different grades as well, and we had to work our way through the grades till we came out with something that we thought was top shelf. And then when I started with the chocolate pretzels, there was no shipping involved. It was only to local stores. And 70 degrees is like the magic number. Once it hits 70, you're looking at problems. You need refrigeration. It's a whole different, and I didn't want to compromise our standard product to accommodate. And a lot of chocolate companies don't even run in the summer because they're not really profitable.
Would you would you believe we had a white chocolate pretzel for a while and it had a dark chocolate drizzle on it? I remember that. I think I ate a lot of those. But I think just back to the main point is growing the chocolate pretzel line and changing the grades, discontinuing the white chocolate. It's always been about what customers say back to us. That's always been really helpful, and I think that's one of the reasons the white chocolate really didn't stick around.
Yeah, it wasn't a big sell. It looks better than it tastes.
So we'll talk about customer feedback. Let's just make the delineation between 2008, before 2008, and after 2008. Before 2008, was it literally word of mouth where you talk to people or they'd write a letter? And then after 2008, maybe a website or social media? Or what was it 2008? And if so, what's the major difference between before then and after then as far as how did you hear the most customer feedback?
Well, I get mine when I'm on the street. Occasional phone calls, most of them pleasant, some not so pleasant. After that,
I get it now via email.
now I'm still on the street, but I don't listen as much.
So you've been doing this so long. Is it important? And if so, why is it important for you to still be doing street deliveries?
you know, I guess it's just to stay in touch with what's relevant, but it's coming to an end. I have an older truck and a lot of variables, and the city's not what they used to be. Most of the businesses suburban now, just demographics, the way things have changed. And I was more familiar with center city Philadelphia and the suburbs, and I concentrated most of my energy there. Now the suburbs, so we go through distributors there because it's such a vast distance to drive from Lancaster to Philly is an hour and a half or 2 hours. So you got 4 hours in a day before you're even, you know,
Drop a box.
right.
Wow. I don't like driving, so that sounds like a long day to me, but I get it. I don't think a lot of people like I didn't I came back to Pennsylvania 2 years ago to visit, but I don't think people around the country realize how much weather Pennsylvania has and how much it like it no joke, it can rain on one side of the street and not the other side of the street. And
Absolutely.
until I was there, I did not realize that. And so the idea of driving hours and hours in what can be very unpredictable weather, good for you. I'm glad
Well,
you're
I really tried to keep my eye on the weather and not risk anything. It could wait a day or two.
And just in case, because we do cover some chocolate, we cover, just so you're aware, we cover a lot of wine and whiskeys, a lot, and high level food. When I was in Philly last time, we did some Center Valley food reviews. But the reason I'm bringing that up is I'm only going to emphasize chocolate one more time because
Yeah.
there's people out there who really appreciate their chocolate, but are also, and I wish I had a better word, but they're snobby about their chocolate. So
No.
when you started off on day one of saying, let's try chocolate, was it as simple as catalog ordering, I'll take chocolate 7432? Or was it like a wine tasting where you walk in and there's nine different chocolates and you're tasting each one? What was that process like?
Initially, there was the larger firm that I started with. They had two or three grades, and they coated the pretzels in the milk in the dark.
Mhm.
And then we just sat down together and, this is the one that works best, and pretty much stood with it.
It's incredible and delicious. So thank you.
Thank you.
So we were talking about this 2008 change and the shipping. Talk about the logistics about when we go from regional or local to national. I mean, what did you expect to know? What did you realize? Wow, this is a whole new world. Talk us through the process of going national.
I'll let Misty take that.
Um, I have learned more about logistics than I ever thought I would. More about how to pack a box to maximize space. Um, I I think working as a small business with these logistics companies can be challenging. Um, Pricing is very variable. It can be hard to kind of keep track of it. Um, but you do the best you can. You watch things, you follow up, ask questions, and I think just learning. And again, we found a couple really great partners to help us distribute nationally. We stick with them. Um, we handle damage when it occurs, which is unfortunate. But yeah, it's logistics is hard. I always say in my next life I'm coming back and starting a logistics company. But look at how I think also one thing I just want to touch on is how people's consumers' expectations have really changed around shipping. They want it within the day. I now see that Amazon is bringing to certain cities 1 hour and 3 hour delivery. So, being a handmade product, only shipping a certain way, I think it's a lot about trying to explain that and communicating that you can't have your pretzels overnight because we're actually just baking them. Um, so, yeah, the logistics, and there's no such thing as free shipping. It's probably built into the cost of the product in ways that people um, don't want to really see, but we choose not to do that. We try to be transparent with our pricing. We still absorb a lot of the cost of shipping without passing it directly on to the customers. So it's an expensive endeavor.
And I'll just add to talking about the product. We don't inventory weeks, months. In the mail order, it was made that week. It might take 4 or 5 days to get out, but or to get to the customer, but it's product that's almost always made that week. It's not from inventory, so that's another reason uh, it might take a little bit longer. And as far as uh, the logistics, Misty's made some contacts with different shippers. New York is a big market for us now, and we have finally found a trucker that
He's amazing. He's just like him and his it's another father son, and he's a dream to work with.
yes,
He's great.
compared to the big firms that You never know who's going to be or how they're going to handle the product. Well,
What's interesting for me about logistics is no matter the size of the company, no matter the budget they're dealing with, it's hard. Like we could because of who we talk to often. I mean, as you can imagine with wine bottles, you
Oof,
know.
I
And
can't even.
so where I was going with the two of you is, I mean, pretzels are a very fragile product, right?
absolutely,
And
especially handmade.
there you go. And so I just think a lot of the answer I hear the most is everyone loves making their product. Everyone's very frustrated by shipping their product.
I would think that's accurate.
But
I'm not going to argue with that.
it's not like even like there's companies we talk to, they have a great budget for it. They have, they're doing just fine. It's still their number one challenge. So now
Absolutely.
we've been to all three of us have been talking about the product itself and how high quality it is, how delicious it is. But beyond us, it's the feedback. I mean, people are sending them to friends and family, people are talking about it. What is it about the product and the brand that you think builds such decades long loyalty?
Sticking to what we started with, trying to be consistent. And when it's on the, you're always battling for shelf space when you're selling, to retail stores. And we like our packaging because you can actually see the product, what you're buying. A lot of snack foods, you don't see what you're getting. And we think that our product speaks for itself.
We are literally transparent.
What I told Misty during our very first conversation so long ago was your samples arrived, and I'm not kidding. With by lunchtime that day, everything was gone. And all I can tell you is that does like people enjoy things, but the speed of it was very noticeable that they were just gone. And so I think the packaging, I think the appearance of the pretzels, I think to my personal, not professional opinion is when we see factory made stuff, it just looks all the same. Whereas, in my opinion, the handcrafted part of it really adds to the allure of it. In addition, I'm in Los Angeles, and we're going to get to this in a second, which is everyone's so health focused now. So let's talk about the health journey that is Uncle Jerry's Pretzels.
It's always been a healthy product. It's always been simple ingredients, clean ingredients, sticking to that.
No preservatives, no oils or sugars.
And, we have all printed our ingredients on the front. The nutrition facts are on the front. Everything's very legible. It's clear. We don't try to hide it. There's movements to make it a requirement to put all that information on the front now. And I think it's just people are really starting to respond to, wanting better products for you.
And, we believe that if you're a pretzel person, once you bought our product, we have a customer.
We talked about the past, we're talking about the present, but let's look ahead to the future. And where's Uncle Jerry's Pretzels going to be in 10 years? What might, I'm assuming, what are there product changes? Are there extensions? What could possibly make the brand better in the couple next years coming up here?
Um, I would like to see some more extensions, you know, responding to what people are really looking at. For example, I know people are really looking for high fiber foods now, high protein. So thinking about expanding the line into that while keeping the integrity of the original pretzel. I would really like to see us expand into more markets across the country, having wider distribution so that people can continue to enjoy them. 10 years from now, I hope my dad's still making deliveries.
No, that'll be enough.
um, but Yeah, and just continuing to grow the product, maybe getting some new chocolate pretzels out there. Who knows? Who knows?
And on a sidebar, I'm 73 today.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
It's another day in the life.
I guess something I'd be curious about is because you're so handcrafted and handmade, are you going to pretzel expos? Are you looking at what technology is out there, or is that just not the vision of Uncle Jerry's Pretzels?
Go ahead.
Well, I know I'm very interested about the role that AI is playing in food manufacturing. So I'm always reading about it, kind of following trends, looking at how AI is being used, not just in the manufacturing process, but also in the ingredient formulation and the sourcing. So I think that might be one of the biggest kind of internal transformations is how we utilize that. And even just the way orders are processed and, you know, that can all change.
But as far as, our core, we're community-based workers, and I like people going home happy with, their day's work and their wages, and that won't change. But uh, marketing and technology definitely is way past me.
Maybe we'll even get on TikTok. I haven't decided that.
As I was preparing for this conversation, I was doing some brainstorming, and we're having people just ask all kinds of pretzel ideas and questions. And what it came down to, because if you go to the store and just randomly buy a bunch of pretzel products, there's so much variety out there. Not necessarily good stuff, but just variety. And we came up with all kinds of questions about could they, innovation wise, could they go bigger? Could they go this? Could they go that? And these are the same people who ate all of your within like an hour of getting them. Overwhelmingly, the answer is always, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
There you go.
And
Yeah.
so, well, my question to the two of you would be, when you're considering anything, is it the same thing of, hey, what we're doing works? Or have you ever done some wacky trial and error stuff just to see what could happen?
Done some wacky stuff. Remember the stick?
We did a stick, which,
We did a honey wheat.
and this was all machine product, to add to the line because you can't hand roll a stick really. And
Yeah, that
uh,
didn't work.
no, and it didn't stay true to what we had. And we didn't want it detracting, people getting Uncle Jerry's and saying, well, I had that and I didn't like it.
Yeah. We tried for the chocolates, we tried to do some salted, like flavored salt. I remember sitting at the house and we had all the salt lying around and we were like trying it and that was entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fiasco. So
And we've also tried, to put different additives, like doing everything pretzel, but the ingredients, just the price point, we're pretty sensitive about the price point, and the markups down the road, you can't control them, so you have to try to limit. If if you could control the markups of your partners, the product would get there
yeah.
on the shelf a lot more reasonable.
When we try these, I don't call them wacky, when we try these other opportunities, does it ever get out of the testing phase? Does it ever get to the customers, or is it all just in-house playing?
No, the organic pretzel stick and the honey wheat we actually sold. We had the everything pretzel on our website for a while. Um, but then we just, based on sales, just kind of had to pull the plug. And again, based on whether or not it represented the business well.
But
Yeah.
we're still not done trying.
Yeah.
We did an oat bran pretzel years and years and years ago when oat bran was going to save your life. And it was a great seller. And we still have it in the line, even though it doesn't sell, a fraction of what it did. But because of the quality of the pretzel, we kept it.
Where did the idea of the Brokes come from?
I think, and I should say we're actually going to be doing brokes in a couple more varieties. I think it has a lot to do with not wanting to waste product. And because we're so concerned about usage and being mindful of, the world around us, um, we found we had a lot of these bits of pretzels that were delicious. And what could we do with them? And we don't want to just throw them out, right? And some people like the smaller bits anyway. So, we got the request for that. Some people don't mind when they break. Most people don't really eat a whole pretzel all at once. So the bits fit that. And we also offer them in a larger bag. So it kind of fits into that bulk buying a little bit more. And yeah,
Yeah, it was just really a packaging change to get it to customers because there's not just brokes uh, that you receive through the mail. There's breakage in the manufacturing as well, from the time it comes out of the oven to the dryer to the packing table, and it's just
it's still food.
it's right, and it's good food.
Yeah.
When I saw the Brokes opportunity, I said that's the bag I would buy first, frankly, for all the reasons you just mentioned, the snack aspect and not a giant pretzel, but a big pretzel compared to a bite, that's definitely more my personal style. Rewinding back to your teenage years, did you always see yourself as a business person or an entrepreneur? And how when did you say, let's try pretzels?
No, I didn't never envisioned, never had a game plan. Uh, I was painting houses, and I knew anything was better than that. And an opportunity came along, and I just grew with it. No, there was never a game plan.
But your business knowledge more or less I don't say at zero, but at common person knowledge. And it was just trial and error, and you grew and grew and grew.
Well, my father owned an independent cab in Philadelphia, and and I drove it ever since I was 16, for maybe 10, 15 years, oh, at least. And
If there ever was a true hustle, that's one, right?
and you learn a lot being on the street, is all I could say.
Fair enough.
And big props to De Niro for coming up with the movie Taxi Driver. And he is a customer too.
One member of our audience, he's a very successful professional in the legal world in Pismo Beach. And what I learned from him one day at a meeting was, while he's great at his job, he loves wine, he loves cooking, he loves all these other things, and he highly believes that he's an artist who happens to work in legal. So you're an extraordinarily successful pretzel guy. Is there art behind that? Is there an art that inspires you in your work?
Music, I always have to have music on when I'm involved in pretzels, and the louder the better.
What genre of music do you like?
I go across the board, I have classical on at times, non-commercial radio stations. There's quite and then they transition to jazz at night. I also like rock and roll a lot,
Mhm.
jazz,
I
shabuzi.
Shabuzi, right? I always joke to my friends that you know how everyone's parents would sing them bedtime songs.
Mhm.
I either got the Beatles or Motown. I can specifically remember Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and some Marvin Gaye songs. And I'm like, I don't know. I was like 5.
Because the audience is so food centric and oftentimes wine and whiskey. I'm not sure if you're a drinker or not, but
Yes, moderate, not as much as I should.
for both of you, and I know Misty's answered this in the past, maybe you'll have a different answer this time or the same. Um, Favorite product on your menu, followed by what's your favorite drink pairing to go with it?
Well, I've been into the low salt dark, and I like a Pilsner. That's that's me.
All right.
I'm a specials low salt or Oak Brand low salt girl, and I prefer darker beer like an amber or something.
And Misty also eats more chocolate than I do.
Yes, I do.
And is there anything throughout this year or next year, any other definites coming up that are new for Uncle Jerry's, or if not definites, anything that you're playing with that might be coming out for us?
Well, the protein pretzel is our top priority, but it's
It's finding the right pricing,
Hmm.
making it
the right product to add.
the right product to add, thinking about pricing, where to source the protein, um, also what makes it valuable. You know, at what level do you have to offer it per serving? And if we can't meet that, is it worth the investment? And again, just offering more bits to people
Mhm.
because that seems to be a pretty popular item and a great way to save food.
You've done this for a lifetime. Misty's been involved for so long. Do either of you have any lessons or stories that you want to share?
We were actually talking about this. One thing that sticks in my mind as kind of a story that resonates with me is years ago a customer wrote that his wife was very sick with cancer, and for some reason pretzels was one of the only foods that she could tolerate. And so I sent him a bunch of pretzels.
Hmm.
And later, much later, he sent a pen and he had it inscribed with no act of kindness goes unrewarded. And I know this is like, maybe it sounds too corny or unbelievable. I still keep that pen on my desk because I really do think kindness goes a long way, not just in the past, but today. And to do things warmly and openly, I think as a business person is kind of refreshing to a lot of people. That would be something that I think about.
I would say 100% from what Misty said. Try to act kind and generous.
Jerry Skolnick and Misty Skolnick from Uncle Jerry's Pretzels. Thank you both so much for your time. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.